Organization of Nigeria in Abuja earlier this month, the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, announced that the federal government had set up a committee on the creative industry that brings stakeholders that would advise it on the best way to mitigate the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the industry. The creative industry, which covers mainly film, music, theater, fashion, and photography, has been hit badly by the novel coronavirus since restrictions on social gatherings took effect. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, in his speech, stressed the critical role that the industry, which also contributes to the gross domestic product of the nation, plays. The creative industry is a very critical sector of the nation's economy and a major plank of the economic diversification policy of this administration. It creates the highest number of jobs after agriculture, especially for the youth. Therefore, there is no doubt that we need a collective and government-supported approach in dealing with the immediate, short and long-term palliatives and initiatives for the industry in order to mitigate the effect of the pandemic on the sector. The committee, made up of stakeholders across the sector, is mandated to send a report within 4 weeks that will assess the expected impact of the pandemic on the industry and general, advise the government on how to mitigate job and revenue losses in the sector, as well as to create succor for the industry's small businesses, suggest the type of taxation and financing that is best for the industry at this time to encourage growth, and advise the government on any other measure or measures that can be undertaken to support the creative industry. Good morning and welcome to the Economy and Politics Show Conversation as we continue to look at post-COVID-19 and critical sectors and how they can really reposition to drive our economy. We have with us today Mr. Obi Asika, a creative industry expert and one that has over 2 decades experience from music to fashion to supporting sports and even in terms of performing arts, literature, and general overall our creative value chain. Mr. Obi Asika is the founder and chairman of Dragon Africa and also the co-founder of Social Media Week Lagos. Good morning, Mr. Obi Asika.
Morning, also. Pleasure to be here.
Yes,
pleasure to have you. I know
you always have a lot of busy engagement, but I thank you for the time to have a conversation around an industry that sometimes has not been brought to the front burner, but is very critical to our economy, the creative industry.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that we're having this conversation, and I think one has to commend at least the leadership shown by the minister by setting up the committee quickly. And the most important thing that committee has already been doing is being open and collaborative in sourcing information and memorandum from players in the sector. So there's been Google Forms being shared around where people can put in and input their information of their business, what they do, how they do it, and begin so that they can build some form of data. Because there was something you said in your opening that I think is very important. There's the short-term sort of palliatives thing. And if you look at what is happening in the UK or the US, and it's also tied to taxation. So it's an important thing for the sector because the sector, I would say 90% of the creative industries is made up at this point in time in Nigeria of self-employed people, who are working as fixed-term employees or in very small enterprises. And a lot of them are maybe outside the tax net. Now, in the UK, for example, if you were in the tax net, what they're doing is they're paying you furlough, which is like giving you money that you would have been earning if you were working. So I think they're paying almost £2,000 a month, £3,000 a month for some people who might be set designers, camera operators, editors, those sort of people who work on a television set and movie set. When you see a music video, you know that the artist you're watching on screen, there's another 80 people working behind the screen to make that product. So all those people behind the camera in the value chain, those are the guys that really survive on daily work. And when there's no work for 3 months, there's a big problem, and it's a global problem. So the issue becomes the ability of the government to identify those people and to put together some kind of package that can help support them through the time, right, until they can get back to work. But the real opportunity for me that the COVID-19 gives is for a full assessment and a real focus on the things we need to do to unlock our economy in total. And of course, the creative industries are a core part of that economy. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think COVID-19, of course, is a pandemic. Of course, it's economic. It's a public health problem. But it is also an enormous opportunity.
Yes, an enormous opportunity. And when you look at the growth figures published by the National Bureau of Statistics for Q4-19, motion pictures, sound recording, and music production.
Growth was 0.20% for full year 2019, and in the fourth quarter of 2019, the growth was 0.81%. That means that going by the already signals we're seeing by recessions in Japan and then negative growth in the UK, US, and Eurozone, this creative industry contribution for Q1 2020, when the GDP result for Nigeria is published, may be impacted.
Yes, I mean, I think almost definitely. I mean, nobody, if you look at it, if you track this thing globally now, as we look at it, I mean, the creative industries are really the CCI, the creative and cultural industry. And you're looking across, you know, about 20 sectors, from innovation, architecture, software, you know, live art, physical art, performance art, yeah, so dance, theater, fashion, certainly, of course, music, Nollywood, right? Television, which I think is a critical element that we really have to fix. I think, so what you have is that the area that is going to have the biggest challenge is going to be live entertainment, yeah? Live sports, live entertainment, concerts, weddings, events. Because of the public health issue with this pandemic, because of the issues with public gathering, it's going to take a very long time, I think, to get back to what was pre-COVID. And in this economy in Nigeria, that event economy, that hospitality circuit is perhaps the biggest revenue source for MCs, comedians, musicians, bands, right? That's just 4 or 5 of the performing people that are going to, and a lot of the Instagram sketch comedians. It is because that's the experience side. This is going to have caused big restrictions on all those big eco-hotel events, all those big concerts at Christmas. I'm not sure we're going to be able to put people in a tight environment like that in 2020, which means that you could imagine what potential losses are for people who live off. But guess what? 200 people work on that concert. So it is a very, very serious situation. It's a public health situation first, right? And so therefore, it's not something that necessarily players in the sector can resolve themselves. But of course, we have to keep watch what is happening in every country. And the most important thing for us here will be to make sure that we can get the right standards of public health safety, right, to begin to do events again. So I am thinking that the way it's going and the way it's looking, we may not be seeing big live events till the end of 2021, because you have to give the world, you have to give the scientific community, and they are working faster than in the history of humanity to find a vaccine. I think there are about 200 efforts right now. The vaccine's a lottery. But even if you find the vaccine, you don't have to administer it to 7.5 billion or however many people actually, you know, decide to take it, because you don't force people to take vaccines. And then you can say, oh, okay, because even now when you play football, you watch the Bundesliga just came back, right? And we're watching it because the crowds are empty. When will crowds be able to return? We don't know. And without the crowds, the experience is diminished and the revenue is diminished. So in Nigeria, the key thing for us is to find when and how can we safely re-engage, you know? When but also, well, because look at our cinemas. The cinemas are going to reopen, and they have to do social distancing. So I think there's a lot of thinking COVID if you are doing live events, if you're doing it. So online is really the new destination, infrastructure. Many of us are suffering right now because everybody in Nigeria is trying to get online and there's limited capacity. So we need to unlock capacity. We need all the state governments in Nigeria to unlock rights of way. You can see that I think AKT did it recently, Imo State did it yesterday. All these, the governors forum, they should just do it in every state. Because if you get rid of rights of way, that's like telling investors, okay, let me come and put fiber. You can put fiber into hospitals, into schools, in homes, and that changes everything because that enables e-commerce, it enables business. You understand what I'm saying? So I think there is an opportunity, but we must take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the need
financing assistance, and the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Bankers Committee identified last year the creative industry as a key driver. They've known it, but they needed to now step up by providing that financing window. So we see like movie distribution, there was a window of financing of 4 billion naira. For the music segment, 5.4 billion naira. Movie production, about 3 billion naira. Fashion, about 4 billion naira. Those segments, assessing those financing, discussing with your industry stakeholders and people in your ecosystem. Do you know much about how many have been able to assess this to scale? Because this is an industry that without much government intervention thrived and contributed to economic growth. Now with interventions, strategic interventions from the financial services and even from policy, it could really, really unlock more potentials for economy.
Well, I think first of all, we have to commend, excuse me, sorry, my daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. It's part of the parenting role this period.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the thing is this is that in terms of what is happening right now, yeah. Can you just recap what you said? Like, you just threw me slightly. Also, can you hear me?
Okay. So I was saying that, yes, I can hear you. I was saying that, yes, the industry, with people like you and your colleagues, you've worked tirelessly, you've brought this industry to limelight, you've created jobs without those interventions initially. Now we're seeing the financial services, for example, last year, the Central Bank, the Bankers Committee, looking at financing initiatives, the Creative Industry Financing Initiative, CFI, which, for example, has put out about 4 billion naira for music production, about 4.5 billion naira for 4 billion naira for movie distribution, about 5.4 billion naira for movie production, and fashion has 4 billion naira. So when we look at those figures, they're quite massive. There's much more to be done, but in terms of assessing those financing opportunities, how has it been for you and your colleagues in the industry?
Well, let me start by saying, first of all, we have to first thank the central bank governor and the Bankers Committee for actually taking the important step of ensuring that the CCI are classified as a sector that retail banks can engage and loan money to, and are done at a preferential rate of, I believe, 10%. And even to further say that, I believe that the CFI situation, they've even gone further to say that they're prepared to reduce those interest rates to 5%, right? So that's very, very positive. In terms of that classification you just broke down, I've never heard that specific breakdown. So I cannot say that, from the music side, I'm not aware of anybody that has gotten any kobo from that facility. And it's very interesting to hear that 5.4 billion was allocated to music. You might interest you to know that music is probably the #1 sector that pushes soft power Nigeria. I think that worldwide, wherever you go, our sound is everywhere. I love my brothers in Nollywood, but music tends to travel faster. It doesn't need a visa. It doesn't need anything except to make you feel good. And we see that our music is everywhere and has been dominant really for the last 15 years on the continent. It's now globalized. But funnily enough, we have never been funded. The music sector, I can confidently say, really has not been backed by government. which is not necessarily a bad thing. That's just a fact of life. We're more interested in the fact that we're affecting people, but there are things that can be funded, right? And there are strategic decisions that can be made that will enable this country to move. In terms also of the film distribution, I think when you say film distribution, really they're thinking about cinemas, most likely, because I mean, the cinema ecosystem in Nigeria is a system that everybody can see. It's the industry is not structured. It tends to upset me because I'm like, listen, nowhere in the world does the artist make the CDs. Yeah, manufacturing a CD is a different business. Singing is a different talent, right? Even the record label typically doesn't manufacture the CDs, so it's a value chain thing. But in Nigeria, you hear bankers all the time telling people, there's no structure in your industry. No, there's no structure in Nigeria. If there was formal retail, if there was formal supply chain and formal distributors that everybody could trust, so whether you were selling hair products, beauty products, t-shirts, perfume, music, or video, you have a supply chain you can trust, you will sell your products. So in Nigeria, we have already wholesale distribution through West Africa. Some of that distribution is coordinated through those Igbo traders from Aba, Onitsha, Computer Village in Lagos, Idumota, right? Alaba. These are the guys that actually have the distribution. What we have to do is to marry that distribution with a level of rights protection. Because we can't really call what is happening piracy, because they're the only thing that exists. They own the streets, so it's like gap marketing. If the street cannot get the product they want, they will get it from wherever they can get it. So the organized private sector in the industry and the bankers, this is an opportunity for all of us as Nigerians to leverage on our real assets, right? We already know that Computer Village is selling more electronic goods and product than anywhere else on the continent. I'm pretty sure we all know that. So why can't Computer Village be a key element of our industry in selling our products? Do you understand? The same thing with Alaba or Onitsha. Aba should actually be the production center for merchandise for all of the creative sectors of Nigeria. If you think about it logically, if you look at all the superstars you see in America, Rihanna is going to be a billionaire next year. It won't be from the singing, it's going to be from her fashion line. If she had done her fashion line here, everybody would just be saying, it's very nice, but she may not have seen the money because she's not able to get protection, yeah? So we need that enforcement. We need that protection. We need to value our own brands. I think we have already built billion-dollar brands in this country. But guess what? There are very few people in the Nigerian creative industry that are monetizing in Nigeria at the level they should be monetizing. If you look at all our music artists, all their streaming numbers are bigger outside Nigeria. All of them. Yeah? All of their shows are bigger outside Nigeria. All of them. Yeah? And why is that? Because of a lack of venues, a lack of ticketing, a lack of the ecosystem. So you can't say we have big promotion in Nigeria, because what we have had is corporate hospitality. Do you understand? So the industry needs to sort of transit and go from the corporate hospitality to backing the talent. If you told me, let me tell you something, when we get back out of COVID and everybody can hug and I can give you a hug and I can embrace you, if Wizkid or Davido or Burna Boy does a 50-city tour in Nigeria, they can sell 10,000 tickets, 20,000 tickets in each city. That's 1 million tickets. If that ticket is 5,000 naira, that's, I can't do that math. That's 5 billion right there. That's just one artist. Do you understand? That's one artist. AY, Basketmouth. I'm just telling you that the value of our market is such that the entire world is trying to enter our market. whether it's from the States, whether it's from the UK, whether it's from Asia. And then every African talent considers Nigeria the break market. Everybody wants to break in Nigeria. But the question for us as Nigerians is, this is 2020. There are very few Nigerian-owned DSPs. There are very few Nigerian-owned platforms, SVOD. We need to see more of that. We need to see, there's literally no Nigerian social network. We are all on other people's networks, right? If you were Indian or Chinese, they blocked Facebook and these guys before they came in, and they set up their own. That was their own style of protection. They built their own capacity. So for me, COVID-19 is a pivot to capacity building, because even when we look at the wider issue of the public health and the response, the real issue is capacity. The lack of capacity of our public health system, the lack of capacity of the value chain for testing, the lack of training and PPE for doctors. You realize that if we had those things, which we should expect to have, because actually we've had them budgeted for years in our budgets at state and local government, where most of that money is. But if we had all these things, we would not all be panicking. We panic because we know our inherent lack of capacity. So the real thing now is, can we get some original thinking? Can we empower ourselves by connecting Nigerian soft power to Nigerian hard power? It's sitting in Computer Village, it's sitting in Aba, it's sitting on Onitsha. Then there's corporate Lagos, right? There's corporate Nigeria, there's the SEC, there's the stock exchange, there's the bankers. If we can bring these three sets of people together and you add the technology entrepreneurs, then we should be talking about launching bigger and more important platforms that enable all of us to earn in our domestic market. I'm very sure if you ask WizKid or Burner or Davido that would they like to be on a plane 200 days a year outside Nigeria if they could generate the same income in Nigeria, I think you know the answer already. And when you're generating the income you're supposed to generate in your own country, your premium goes up outside your country. Yeah. So for me, the COVID-19 is the opportunity to look at this thing and it's almost like we have to unbundle, right? Federal government probably has 46 stadiums that are losing money 90% of the time. We all know that. They're losing money. There's no money to reinvest in them. Can they not be concession to operators who will turn that stadium from 300 days a year of being empty to 200 days a year of events? Do you understand? Now, when you begin to look at it like that, then you begin to understand that what we're sitting on is loads of assets. We need some injection of capital and some original thinking to unlock those assets and to create that synergy and that balance. Something I want to go back to on the palliatives, as I said, there's a really important role here for the guilds and the associations to identify and track down. And we make big statements in Nigeria. Oh, there's 7 million this, there's 10 million this. That's great, but we need the data now. You need the enumeration. The bankers are not going to talk to you if you don't bring in the data. Yeah. So the relevance of guilds is going to be in their services to their members. And the best service a guild can do is to be professional, no matter which sector, whether it's Fadan in the Fashion Designers Association, whether it's the guys in music, whether it's the Nollywood guilds, right? So for me, I look at this thing as a collaborative approach, that the problems of the creative industry are a microcosm of the problems of Nigeria. They are not unique to the creative industry. They are problems of retail, of distribution, of monetization in the domestic market, in a place where we have already established the enormous demand for the product, right? We all know that we as Nigerians, we are consuming our product. How many of us are paying for it? How many of us are actually participating in backing the product? Do you understand? And that means we have to fix domestic television. We We have to sort out audience measurement so the sponsors can be comfortable to back programming, right? We've got to sort that out, because if you sort out domestic television, that will have a huge catalytic impact on Nollywood. And when I say Nollywood, I mean independent producers. You sort that out, that's a huge thing there. And it also means that Nigerians will actually begin to watch TV because there's programming to watch, right? TV is about programming at the end of the day. And I think the other thing is that if you look at if you look at the situations that's going on with the live side of things, as I said earlier, in advance of live, if you check that Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, they are enabling shops, right? They put a statement out this week. That speaks directly to the thing I was saying about the merchandise, yeah? Which means that we need to sort out logistics inside Nigeria. We need to sort out supply chain and the back end. And we also need to up the level of the product. When we were kids, I know you're younger than me, but when we were kids, everybody used to say, when the Japanese first came, it was made in Japan, cheap. Then it was made in Taiwan, cheap, Tai-2. The Navy was Tai-2, right? You know, then made in China was cheap. Guess what? It's not cheap anymore. Made in China is world class, yeah? Because what did they do? They ramped up production. So if there was ever a time to focus on made in Africa, made in Nigeria, it is now, you know? I'm a member of an organization called Africa 2.0, and we created something, I think 7 years ago. Well, we didn't create it. It's a brand that we wanted to give life to called FABA, for Africans by Africans. And the truth of the matter is, whether you want to do cures for COVID-19 or you want to unlock the creative industries, the bottom line is you must invest in the process. So the strategic goal for me out of this whole thing is, how do we reboot this country in terms of, because in actuality, we know what the creative industry brings. It brings the inspiration. It brings the storytelling. It brings the imagination. It allows people to hope. It can give inspiration to people. I don't think that the government has necessarily, or any government has necessarily understood how to key into that. A lot of governments are just using people as sort of ambassadors and stick them in a program because of followers, but there's no emotional connection because they haven't connected to the storytellers, okay? Who is going to tell the story of how we survived how we survived COVID-19? Somebody has to tell the story. Who's going to inspire the people? So I think that, I believe strongly that Nigeria's biggest asset is Nigerians, human beings. And that is why I'm a huge advocate for Nigerian soft power, because those Nigerian human beings, when their natural expression is their soft power. And that comes out in their attitude, in their food, in their fashion, in their music, in the movies, in the comedy, and of course, in the visual expression of art, sculpture, and the rest of it. And the world has fallen in love with it. But let's not take it for granted. Let's not be complacent, okay? Nothing is guaranteed. The Angolans, the South Africans, the Kenyans, the Ghanaians, the Ugandans, Mozambique, everybody has some level of their own flavor and personality and talent, and everybody's coming to the table. Now, we know that we think we're special, and yes, we are. Let's show our real specialty by making sure that whether it's in Kafanchan or Bauchi, whether it's in Kano or Sokoto, whether it's in Abuja or Port Harcourt, that we have platforms that are working for us, that are enabling us to reach our people. When we used to release records 12 years ago, 15 years ago, there was no way to release a record in Lagos on a Friday and get it around Nigeria. It might take 2 weeks for the record to get up to the north, by which time you've been totally pirated, right? So the logistics of Nigeria is like, we're like a small continent. Even if you look at the football league, there are many times when, you know, in the evolution of the league, there were times when they say, oh, can we not have away matches? Can we play in our own regions, and then we come later. And that's because of the fact that the league was not commercial. So if you're not commercial and you're not making money, it becomes like a subvention, right? And I think that for me and for many in the creative industries, we don't want handouts. That's not the point of interest. We want a full partnership with the financial sector. We want strategic intervention, right? To unlock value, because the future, the biggest value Nigeria has is its soft power. That's the biggest value. Trust me, everybody has crude. A lot of countries have oil. A lot of countries have gas. A lot of countries have diamonds. But nobody has the attitude. And the attitude, the personality of the Nigerian is worth something. And sometimes it seems we are the last ones to understand that. But guess what? Every politician in Nigeria, every head of state in Nigeria, for the last 10 decades, if they do a campaign, if they walk into a place, they need to use the soft power to get the attention of the people. Otherwise, they may not even pay attention. People think, oh, it's just dancing. It's not. It's an emotional connection. There's more than just the dance involved in the creative industry.
Okay, Mr. Obi, let's look quickly. You've raised very, very fundamental issues, but I like the part that you said there needs to be a strategic partnership with the financial services. Are you and your colleagues in the industry looking at deepening partnership with the capital market? This is a wealth creation platform, huge opportunity to bring in industries, to really assess capital and broaden your activities beyond the interventions you've talked about and beyond handouts. I mean, retail, monetization, distribution channels, like you said, need to be addressed to really deepen this industry. And also, will you be saying that we should have a streamlined Ministry of Creative Industry? I remember that several years when you were new media advisor to former President Goodluck Jonathan, there was this forum, and some of the industry players were talking about streamlining a ministry like that. Would you be suggesting that we have such ministry?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of times people who are political want to say such things and have such things. I feel like it feels like it gives them a particular status to be represented in the Federal Executive Council. But I mean, the truth of the matter is there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a ministry for the CCI, Cultural and Creative Industry, right? There would be nothing wrong with that at all. And if you look at the UK, if you look at the US, if you look at many of these countries, the IP industries, which is really what the creative industries are the dominant factor in their economies. And I think that's where we want to get to. We should be looking at a situation where the CCI of Nigeria in the next decade is the key driver of the Nigerian economy. What does that mean? That means investing in research and development. That means upgrading innovation in our universities. That means in creating an ecosystem that connects the entrepreneurs, the market economy, and the formal financial sector. We are unfortunately seeming to operate in a disconnected fashion in our own environment. So people who are sitting there in banks and insurance companies that have capital to deploy are not able to see behind the opacity of what they think is opaque about the markets or the creative industry, right? Whereas the reality of it is, a lot of people say, oh, it's late, I said, it hasn't even started. As far as I'm concerned, we're just at the beginning for the creative industry, right? So yes, many people, I believe, people like me for sure, have been talking for years, trying to convince private capital, the big law firms, the big players, PwC, who actually, to be fair, have been supporting us on some of these initiatives, on the need to unlock capital. You know that the African Development Forum, the AIF, is focused on this. The African Export-Import Bank is focused. Afrexim has a program for this. So I think there is a collective feeling on the continent and in Nigeria that there is power and money and value in our soft power. And when I say our soft power, I mean a very unique, the Nigerian identity, the Nigerian attitude. No matter where you're from in Nigeria, you may not know it, but anybody who's not Nigerian knows you're Nigerian, right? It's just one of those things. Nigerians spend all their time sort of bickering internally, You know how we are. But in reality, when a Kenyan or Ghanaian meets a Nigerian, they don't know their tribe, they know they're Nigerian. So as Nigerians, I think it is time to grasp our opportunities. They are collaborative. I think the key word is collaboration. It is about listening. Those who have the capital and are sort of gatekeepers from the capital side need to listen to the creative entrepreneurs. Silicon Valley, which is probably, unlocked the most value in the last 50 years and probably in the entire history of mankind, right? It's fundamentally came out of Stanford University. That's the simple truth. So there's no reason why some of our original centers of excellence, Ibadan, Ife, Nsukka, ABU Zaria, just to take 4. If we are deliberate, so these 4 universities as national centers of innovation, and we build ecosystems. So why is Nsukka sitting there and Nsukka does not have significant connection with Nnewi and Aban on each other on a commercial level? Why have we not taken Imo here, the Igbo trading system, and brought it to the fore as a digital platform, right? All of these things. There are some community banks using this Yoruba method of saving money in Lagos. Microfinance banks, I'm sure you know, they have 20 billion naira in their account. Nobody knows the name unless you're in that space, right? So this disconnected thing that is happening all over the place, it's all about opening up the conversation. So the best thing that has happened is that we're in a situation where nobody can ignore the creative industries anymore. I believe that Alibaba and the committee will deliver a very strong roadmap document to the minister. And I'm confident the minister will be able to push it forward for consideration and approval. And I think, like you said, it will be a 3-pronged approach. The short-term palliatives to see how people can be supported. The mid-term strategies to see how you can help companies build. And then we've got to have some big ideas. The big strategic goal. What's our big strategic goal? In 2023, where do we want to be? Do we want to have a live circuit where Nigerian artists can perform 150 shows a year? I think we do, because that alone is a $1 billion industry. Do we want to have platforms where all those things we are creating are also sitting on and monetizing? We know we do. Do we want to be able to sell merchandise and product? Yes. Why can we not sell our own stuff in our own country and make money? This is a conversation I've had with Tara Fellows, Zaron Cosmetics. They get ripped off in China. So their product became so strong that some Nigerians go to China and make their product and bring it back and sell. So protection, building up the Nigerian Copyright Commission, very important, right? And enabling value to build, These are the things. From the music sector side, we need to see to the resolution of the issues around collections. They have to be resolved so we can unlock the future. We cannot be sitting here with the biggest music sector in Africa by far, but the back end of the sector is not working. You understand? What's working out of the Nigerian music sector right now is the hits. The hits are working, but the conversation, the strategic actions, building the sector, right? I'm not sure how much of that we're seeing. I mean, one of the good things about this whole COVID period is there have been a lot of important conversations, webinars and conversations happening, people diving into these issues. And I think when you have conversation, you can get to a solution. The Nigerian solution is about how do we monetize Nigeria. When we started, we were trying to establish the validity of the show, to establish that it was valid. It was something that was important. Now, by the time Wizkid has sold out O2 Center, 20,000. I don't think anybody's arguing about the validity of what is happening with Nigerian entertainment. But it's called show business. That was the show. Now it's about business. How do we Nigerian brands still act like they're doing favors, to talent? But the truth of the matter is, some of these talents are like countries now. You got somebody that has 12 million followers on Instagram, that's a nation. That's an entire country. It is significant. The leverage has changed to some extent. You've noticed that every single brand has realized they have to be in social, right? They have to be in social, they have to be visible. When we started doing Social Media Week Lagos 8 years ago, what's that? I said, no, it's about new media. It's about the tools you use every day. Today we're on Zoom. I've been using Zoom for about a year, but if you look at the charts, Zoom's daily users went from 20 million a day in January to 300 million a day today. Unbelievable. That's unlocking technology and innovation. And there are people in Yaba, in Aba, in Surulere, in Kaduna. I saw some guys that are worried tracing app for COVID-19, which looks like it's at the same level as the one that came out of Wuhan. Do you understand? So really, I feel that there's enormous innovation and ability in Nigeria. It does need to be backed. We do need to look at the mix of funds. There must be some level of funds that help training, for that type of that side of the industry, because formal training and education courses are very important. And that normally could be driven by level of grant funding from the DFIs, yeah? But then you've got to look as well as the small businesses, the SMEs, which is what really 90% of the companies in the sector are, and enable them on that line. And I like the CV. I think very few people have actually drawn down so far, but I think it's about retail banks being comfortable. So we just need to keep pushing down that line bank to enable and to unlock, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, you have the private equity and global funds who are looking. I think, like the level of high-end short-form content, and but guess what? They came out during this Corona period. Everybody's at home. Everybody they must have thought, oh my God, Christmas came early because everybody's at home. So this is the time when everybody's going to rush your product. Very few people downloaded. In terms of what they were expecting, very few people downloaded. But then look at Netflix. Netflix will, when they post their numbers, we all know their numbers went up significantly, right? So some people will take advantage of what they have built to continue to grow. But we here in Nigeria must look at something. I've seen some numbers, that when you look at the numbers for streaming for Nigerian artists, there's no Nigerian platform, really, in those numbers. And you'll be seeing Burna Boy streams in 2019, 600 million. Wizkid, enormous numbers. Davido, enormous numbers. But it's all on other people's platforms. So if there's one strategic thing, if it's one strategic thing that the Nigerian government can do and back through the committee, is to back 2 or 3 indigenous platforms. It's important for us. It's strategic. They do not have to be government owned. They'll come from the industry. There are many players. We can build coalitions between technology, entrepreneurs, and banks and put down platforms. Across the financial services sector, we are seeing that there are platforms that are being created by Nigerians that work. All these 767, all these alerts, all these things are created here. So we know the capacity is here, It's just for us to mine it together. that's really, I think like COVID-19 is a leveler at that level, that it's almost like everybody has to start again and look at everything again. And the first thing you look at is, okay, what are all the things that have been holding back development in this country, and really get rid of them. These are very hard times.
So, yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Asika. I mean, you've really given us a very incisive and broadened approach to unlocking the potentials in the creative industry, showing over 2 decades of being in the industry and being involved in the whole value chain. I mean, we need to address the retail, the distribution, look at the intellectual property rights, and really tackle piracy. Policy needs to enable this industry to thrive. We need to partner with the financial services, platforms backed up by the country, by the government, which are indigenous, can do a lot to showcase our own artists, and they have to derive value from it. Infrastructure, all those things put together can really make our industry, which is already pronounced and prominent, even able to continue to deepen our economy and drive inclusive growth, which is critical at this point. Thank you very much, Mr. Asika, for those incisive contributions. And on the lighter note, I know that you're a long-standing Liverpool fan, so we hope to see you celebrate with your club when they're given the premiership. It's been a long time coming. Like they say, you never walk alone.
Yeah, we've been waiting for 30 years. And,
yeah, for 30 years, yeah. So
I mean, I think
it's a time.
Comfortable now. I know a lot of clubs fans think that it's funny that we've had to wait. You know, we would have already won the league by now. We had 1 game left to win, or I think, or maybe 2.
Well, 2 more games. Yeah.
2 more games. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Very proud of the side. Excited for the future. Let's get past COVID-19 and get back to full stadium.
Yeah.
And we'll be at Anfield to collect the trophy. We're gonna win it in 2021 as well. That's the thing. Not about.
Really?
Liverpool is here for the next 5 years.
Liverpool will get run for their money. I assure you, 2020.
Competitive. Manchester City is a great side. You know, United are going to come. Arsenal and Spurs, Chelsea. But let me tell you, 2021, 2022, keep watching Liverpool.
All right. Thank you very much for the time, Mr. Asika, founder and chairman, Dragon Africa, co-founder, Social Media Week Lagos, and a very vast and innovative creative industry player for over 2 decades. Thank you very much for all the contributions you've made to Nigeria's creative industry, supporting it and joining coalitions to make it work for the entire economy. Thank you for the time and your incisive contributions.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. That will be all for the conversation this morning on the Economy and Politics Show. You can join us
for the market review, where we'll continue our conversations. Join our website, www.proshng.com, to watch our videos, read our news reports and analysis. To come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.